Hello everybody, Ian, Starship Adventures, and today's something a little different, a local story from right here in Southwest Florida that might be an interest to everybody. We've got a bridge here that was built in 1962, and it spans the Caloosahatchee River between Fort Myers and North Fort Myers, okay? And that bridge is called the Caloosahatchee Bridge. It's on US 41, which is also known as State Road 45. Now, what in the state's infinite bright idea that they've had here recently was that they suddenly now want to add a pedestrian lane to this bridge. Well, this bridge has no room for a pedestrian lane. There's barely room for the 4 lanes that are up there. And they've now decided that what needs to happen is this bridge that's been here since 1962 now needs to be tore all apart on top, and they need to reshuffle everything and add a bike and pedestrian lane down the west side of the bridge. They're going to do this by removing the median, which is about maybe 2.5 feet wide, 3 foot wide. They're going to remove that and put a median in that's only 6 inches wide. And that will allow for some additional room. And then everything's going to be shifted to the east. There'll still be 2 lanes going in both directions, but now there'll be a wall with a pedestrian lane that will be 2 or 3 feet wide. Here's the problem. First of all, do we need it? What studies were done to say that we even needed this thing? You know, they're going to spend $25 million on this project to add a bike lane to a bridge. Now, there's a bridge less than a mile away that has a very nice both bike lane and pedestrian lane that goes right over the bridge. So it's not like it doesn't exist. The 2 bridges in the other direction, the Midpoint and the Cape Coral Bridge, both have pedestrian lanes as well. Okay, so this is really the only bridge over the Caloosahatchee, with the exception of the Fortino Swing Bridge way out east. This is the only bridge over the Caloosahatchee where the pedestrians are not able to cross safely and technically not allowed to cross. But they've decided now that instead of putting street lights at bus stops, which we've had 2 little girls die in this county, and they promised us street lights at all the bus stops. Bus stop right here in front of my house, pitch black. I've got lights in my yard, and 2 other neighbors were trying to light it up, but the county won't. They won't do it. The county and the state, they spend all this money on something like this to put a pedestrian lane across on this old bridge, rather than looking at other things that need to be done even more than this. We still have areas of this road, US 41, that we're talking about, very busy stretches of US 41 that don't even have streetlights yet. We've got areas of the roads around here that are very narrow and they need to be widened. There is so many projects out there that need to be done, but instead we're going to spend $25 million and one of our best contractors out there to go and scrunch lanes over a few feet so that we can cram one more thing over this 60-year-old bridge. And that's basically the bottom line. And I think that considering the bridge will probably need to be replaced in another 15 or 20 years anyway, I think that this was ridiculously short-sighted, and the money could have been spent much better than this. The amount of people that ride their bike and walk, especially in the summertime here in Florida, are nil. There's just not that many. Most people here drive. Everywhere you go has a parking lot. There's just, unless you're right in the 8 blocks of downtown Fort Myers, you can pretty much have your car right next to you wherever you're at. So there's just not a lot of pedestrians and walking and that kind of stuff, beyond health walking, and you can do that anywhere. And so we want to walk over that bridge for our health in the morning. We're not going to put a $25 million sidewalk on there so that you can help walk over the bridge. You go do that on the other bridge. There's parking over there. It's safe over there. There's a dividing wall to protect you over there. If there was any public input allowed on this, it was done before the public knew about it. That's normally how these projects happen. They'll put some little blurb somewhere and consider it announced. They'll have a meeting. 5 or 10 people will show up. They're all people that know each other. Any questions? No, we know what we're doing. Okay, we did public input and the public never showed up. That is so typical of government, to very vaguely announce that they're having a public input on something and call it something that you won't even know what it is, and then put it out there in the smallest way possible. Very typical. And now here's this project. They're doing it. It's already started. They've ripped the bridge apart up there. But nobody remembers ever having any input on this. Why are we inconveniencing so many of our drivers for the next 2 years to put a pedestrian lane in and make what's already a narrow bridge even more narrow than it is now? There was no input at all. They're wanting to put an 8-foot wide sidewalk in, but they're only going to gain 3 feet by removing the median and putting in a much smaller median. They still have to have the curbing on the sides because that's the bridge itself. So we're going to gain 3 feet by getting rid of a lot of the center median, which means there'll be less there protecting traffic from other traffic. But we're now going, because what used to be there now, what's there now is a 3.5-foot high double barrier to prevent people from jumping over it and to prevent that kind of stuff. I doubt what they're going to put in after this will be as hardy as what we have now, because it has a lot smaller space that it has to be put in. So then we take the situation where we've got this bridge. Now we moved all these lanes over. We've gained 3 feet, but we're putting an 8-foot wide walkway in, plus the divider for that walkway, which is another 10 to 12 inches. When you start adding it up, every lane on that bridge is going to get smaller. It's one of our more narrow bridges here on our highways, and it's going to actually get smaller. They've already got you driving 45 miles an hour over the bridge. When they get done with this, I guarantee you that bridge will be 35 miles an hour, because now it will be less safe because the lanes are more narrow. So to say you're making it safer by narrowing the lanes, I question your logic on that. I really, really do. I don't think it's right. And the Florida Department of Transportation, who actually maintains this structure, said the improvements to US 41 over the Caloosahatchee Bridge will happen from 1st Street all the way to North Key Drive. So basically, it's the entire river portion of the bridge is going to be under construction at one time. Now, here's the rub. A lot of us never wanted this. We were never asked. It's going to happen. They're doing it now. Now, yesterday in our media down here, here's the big rub. In our media, if originally we were told, look, we're going to shut this thing down for 6 months, then next year, when we get out of season in summer, we're going to shut it down for 6 months, and it'll be done. So it's a 1-year shutdown spread over 2 years, basically, to get this done. However, they want to shut down the bridge for 10 weeks, completely shut down the bridge. Now, right now, they have 1 lane in each direction that's open 24 hours a day. So you can still use the bridge. They want to completely shut down the bridge, okay? This is a bridge that sees over 44,000 cars a day, okay? 44,000 cars a day, average daily traffic. 5% of that is truck traffic, okay? So we're talking about a busy, busy bridge, and they're wanting to completely shut it down for 10 weeks. Now, when's the last construction project on a road that went in time or in budget? Can anybody name one? They always run long. They always run long. They're going to close this bridge down. It's going to end up taking twice as long as they said. I could be wrong on that. I'm guessing, of course, but I'm telling you guys, they're telling you 10 weeks because they want you to agree to it. But then once everybody says, okay, let's do this, see, they're getting some real pushback right now from people. People are not happy. And people are finally pushing back and saying, look, we've had it with this. We're not happy with what's going on. We were never asked what we wanted. You're inconveniencing 42,000 cars a day to put a bike lane in that will probably get used by 20 or 30 bicyclists and 12 pedestrians every day. Now, if you can't see that you're inconveniencing, greatly inconveniencing, because there's only so many ways across this mile-wide river, okay? You're greatly inconveniencing 40 to 45,000 people a day to put in a lane that would service less than 100 people a day for either a year spread over 2 years or 10 to 20 weeks if they do it all at once. In whose world is it worth it to spend $25 million, inconvenience 45,000 people a day to put in a lane that will never get used by more than a couple hundred people a day? If it got used by 300 people in the same day, I would be astonished. I drive over the other bridge. I don't use this bridge. I use the other bridge because it's better for me to get to work. Okay? I use the Edison Bridge. And I'm telling you that when you come up and when you come to go over this bridge, it's why would I go over this? I go over the other bridge, the one that you can drive over with bicycles, the one that you can walk over, the one that has beautiful pedestrian lane, protected from the traffic. I drive over it every day, at least twice a day. And I rarely see a bicyclist or a pedestrian walking over that bridge. Maybe one a day on average, at the most. So, again, if all the pedestrian and bicycle traffic from the entire Fort Myers area is going over this one bridge, you would think it would be pretty busy, wouldn't you? But it's not. There's not that many bicycles or cars, bicycles or pedestrians even walking over this bridge. It's not happening. And now we have to add a pedestrian bicycle lane to the other bridge, the one that's 60 years old, that's going to need to be replaced in another 20 years anyway. And why? We're inconveniencing a lot of people. You know, you don't need to be a Star Trek fan to understand that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. It's a Vulcan axiom, and it works here. You don't put out 50,000 people a day so that you can build a lane for several hundred people a day. The math just doesn't work out. And I'm sorry, not buying it. I think it's a big, huge waste of time, and I think it's a big, huge mess. I had to voice this, so I came on here today to basically tell people how I feel about what they're doing to this bridge that I came home from the hospital on. Okay, this bridge has been there my entire life. All right, I know this bridge. I've drove over it a million times. There's just no need for a $25 million project that's going to make the bridge more narrow to accommodate hundreds of people. Way to go, state of Florida. The government's supposed to be for the people. I think it's somewhere along the line we've lost track of that. And I really hope that in the future the public gets to take part in the public input. And maybe even you guys could listen to it. That'd be even better. What a waste. There's nothing we can do to fix this. I'm not asking you to call your congressman. I'm not asking you to call your county commissioner. You want to know why? What's done's done. It's spilt milk. You're screwed. You're done. That bridge is closed for 10 or 20 weeks. And trust me, if DOT has come out and said, we found a better way, we want to do it this way now. They don't care what you say. They've already found a new way to do it, and that's the way they're going to do it. So Fort Myers, expect the 10-week plan, which they're going to shut down our bridge for 24/7 for a minimum of 10 weeks. And as normal, it's usually about half again as long. So probably 10 to 15 or more weeks. 24 hours a day, we won't have our bridge. So that 100 people can ride their bike over it every day. What the hell is wrong with us as a society? What the hell? I give up. I'm going to end it here because I'm just going to start saying the same things over and over again at this point, because that's what I do when I'm aggravated. So there you go. DOT, leave our bridge alone. Put it back the way you found it and let us get to work on time. Thank you very much, everybody. My name's Ian. This is Starship Adventures, and I hope the bridge is open on our next adventure.